Now you're expected to be getting your vaccine next week. So how are you feeling about the vaccine and how confident are you that it's safe?
I am so excited to get the vaccine. When I got the email letting us know that we were next in line, there was definitely a squeal in my classroom of joy. I feel like I'm super ready to get this party started. I want to get kids back to normalcy as quickly as possible. I don't have any reservations about getting the vaccination. I've done a bunch of research, and I've talked to a bunch of our science teachers who know a little bit more about the chemistry of this than me. And I really just kind of feel like I'm contributing to the greater good in doing it.
What else do you hope the vaccine does to help get people back to some form of normalcy? What else do you want to see come from it?
I really love the idea that we are all kind of bonding together to do what's best for our community and for the kids and for the people around us and the elderly. And I sort of feel like by getting this vaccine, I am young without pre-existing conditions. I would probably fare pretty well should I contract the virus, but this particular moment in time isn't about me. It's not about an individual. It's about all of us and doing what we need to do for the greater good. And so if I don't receive the vaccine, I can be a carrier of that and unknowingly hurt someone who is elderly or who does have pre-existing conditions. So what I want to see come of this is really just a sense of selflessness. And that doesn't insinuate that people who don't get the vaccine are selfish. I don't mean to imply that. Everyone has to do what's right for them. It's just personally how I feel like I can contribute.
Have you spoken to any of your other colleagues about getting the vaccine, and what have they told you? And are some of them hesitant?
The people with whom I've spoken so far are really excited. I mean, they're really ready. We are kind of, like-minded, the associates with whom I've spoken. So we all sort of feel like we're contributing to a greater cause, and we all want to see our students again. So at the end of the day, if it means that we're one step closer to having those kids back in our classrooms full-time all together, the colleagues with whom I've spoken are really excited about that idea.
Has there been any difficulty getting people vaccinated in your district, or have you heard of any other difficulties at any other districts when they are waiting to get their vaccine?
I haven't heard of any specific difficulties other than the national news, which I've seen some backups of times and some scarcity of the vaccine, but we were asked to fill out a survey ahead of time letting our district know if we intended to receive it. We don't anticipate a shortage because of that. We know a number, we have an idea how many people are interested in doing this. And so I'm confident in our district, at least, in being ready. I know that they're locked and loaded and ready to go. And when that day comes that we do get those vaccinations, I anticipate it being a really smooth rollout.
Even before the vaccine makes its way to different people in the Washington local schools district, what precautions are being taken as of right now to protect people until that shot is administered?
Well, we're doing all the same things that probably most schools are doing. We're keeping our kids, 6 feet apart, where they're wearing masks. We are disinfecting after every class period. Every student is cleaning their desk and all the handles of their desk and their seat before they leave the room for the next person. We're just doing everything we can to mitigate the risk. And so far, fingers crossed, knock on wood, we've been really, really successful. Our kids will come and learn in person. We're on a hybrid schedule, so it's 50-50. But for the most part, our students are doing everything we ask of them. We just couldn't be prouder. Every single day I stand in the hallway to greet students, and they're wearing their masks over their noses and their mouths, which is so important. And, they're staying 6 feet apart and doing everything they can. And they're just as excited to be back as we are to have them.
As an educator throughout this pandemic, what have been your biggest concerns?
Obviously, the safety of my students. I don't ever want to do anything that would jeopardize them. And the selfishness part of me, of course, tends to take over, and I just want them back so much. But I trust the leadership. I trust our governor. I trust our superintendent. I trust the medical professionals to let us know when that day is safe. And once we are in, a hybrid session like we are now, I really trust my colleagues to do the right thing and enforce the rules and make sure everyone's following, protocols. And so far, it seems to be working. So I'm really optimistic, but I do think this vaccine is going to make everything easier as we get more people vaccinated.
What have been the struggles when it comes to teaching remotely or on a hybrid basis?
The hardest part is just not being able to establish those daily relationships with kids. I call it boots on the ground, but when kids are in front of me with boots on the ground, I'm able to assess not only, their academic status, but their physical state, their emotional status, how they're doing. And things sometimes are lost in translation when you're talking about technology. So when I say, how are you today on a chat room, and a kid says, okay, like, okay, or okay, and it's hard for me to assess. And so I always feel like I'm trying to pull out of them how they're doing mentally and emotionally. And so it's really tough not having those daily interactions. Even on a hybrid, I only see them every other day. And so a lot can happen to a child and to a student in 24 hours. So I'm always trying to do check-ins with them and make sure that they're okay and that they know that I'm here for them for anything they need. And, just those daily assessments. Last year, the year before, and every year prior when we were daily in session, I really felt like I had a good grasp of when something was wrong with one of my students. And that's been really difficult this year.
What have been some of the things your students have been telling you about learning remotely? What have they been struggling with during this time?
Most of my students have been surprised how much they miss school. And that has been the best gift out of all of this, is that they realize not only how much they really benefit from being in school, but how much of a family our school is. They mention specific people and say, every day this counselor would always, stop me and we would chat, or this particular math teacher would reach out. And without those daily interactions that they don't have to have, I don't have that teacher anymore, so I don't see them on Zoom. They have really missed it. They've been homesick. And I really think that that's a testament to the culture that we've created in our Washington local school district.
Is there anything else you want to add?
I just think that it's fantastic that they're doing this rollout in February, that hopefully by the spring we'll have a large number of our staff vaccinated. I'm hopeful that we have our elderly population covered. And the next step is the next session. I hope they just continue rolling this thing out as quickly as possible. But I'm here to contribute to the greater good. My advice is that everybody do what you feel comfortable with to do that exact same thing for your neighbor.